The Alto Knights is a 2025 mafia film directed by Barry Levinson and stars Robert De Niro as both Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. It was also penned by Goodfellas and Casino writer Nicholas Pileggi. The film retells the true story of two New York City's most feared mob bosses and the real-life power struggle between the two. Told through a series of intersecting perspectives, The Alto Knights explores the clashing philosophies of its two central figures, Genovese's ruthless ambition versus Costello's fading old-school diplomacy. So the film starts out pretty interestingly enough. It got me into the movie, and then somewhere along the lines, it just kind of petered out. The film opens up with the hit that Vito Genovese puts on the boss of bosses, or the boss of the family in New York, Frank Costello. They were both childhood friends, but now they're mortal enemies as Vito wants to do business his way as he's just been released from jail and he wants to sell drugs, but he feels like Frank is holding him back by telling him not to do that because it's going to put a lot of heat on everybody else in the family. And Vito doesn't like being told this because, again, he was the boss. He took over the head of this family from Lucky Luciano. And he only gave this position to Frank because he committed a double murder and he had to flee the country. So he actually put Frank in this position because he knew Frank wasn't going to steal his money, and then he fled to Italy and then ended up being stuck there because of World War II. But now that's all said and done, he's back. Even though he's an older man, he wants what belongs to him, and he feels like that seat belongs to him. But the other heads of the five families disagree, and the entire commission disagree, and they don't want Vito to take up that position anymore. So Frank stays in place, which pisses off Vito, and that's why he ordered the hit on Frank. So after this hit, now these two are kind of at war, even though Frank really doesn't want anything to do with the mafia anymore. He wants to retire. He wants nothing to do with this, and he wants to give Vito his position back. But Vito is skeptical and paranoid and doesn't believe that Frank is really going to retire. He thinks he's up to something. And that's basically what this whole movie is. And it's kind of the downer of the entire film because it's just based on this one premise, although there's some good aspects to the movie too, like all the historical notes that are actually put in here, all these true events that actually did happen that are much more interesting than this story between these two guys. And I will say, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but besides horror films, this is like my genre, like the one I like the most as well. It's like crime dramas, yes, as you can see from my YouTube channel, you'll see videos. I like crime drama, but this specific crime drama, Mafia, is my favorite. Ever since I was a kid and I saw The Godfather for the first time, I became obsessed with the Italian-American mafia, so much that I got books. I got the encyclopedia of the Italian mafia, actually just the encyclopedia of the mafia, so it has every mafia in there. I became obsessed, and I knew this story, and we saw some parts of this story play out in other films before too, like the big meeting in upstate New York they show in this film, and it was actually, we saw that in Analyze This, or that, one of those two. But so I like this genre, and I actually don't like Robert De Niro very much as a person, but I can separate the person from the actor and the person from the film. And because this is the mafia, I had to watch this movie. So I checked it out, and it's a bit underwhelming for me, which is surprising because it's Nicholas Pileggi. Like I said, he wrote Goodfellas, Casino. He's written other things. Barry Levinson has been hit and miss. He's directed some good films that I like, and then he's directed some films that I think are absolute garbage. So this one's like in between both of that. Like, it's just underwhelming. And I think it's probably more so De Niro playing these two characters. Maybe if it started out with the beginning of their friendship and we actually see two different actors playing them as young characters, and then growing up from nothing to having money and becoming powerful people, powerful, influential men, and then all of a sudden this double murder splits them up and one having to go into hiding, and then we see like them come back in the middle of the film, and then they're old men and now they're competing against each other. I think that probably would have been much better of a film. Instead, because we're dealing with De Niro and he's old, we're just telling the story from the hit, like the ending of the story, and we see flashbacks of things that happened when they were younger, and it just doesn't work. It feels cheap. On top of that, I noticed that, I'm not saying that Scorsese is the only one that could do mob films, but he's one of the ones that have done it the best. And every time I watch a mob film, not every single one of them I think is fantastic and wonderful. Like Mobsters, I think is one of the worst gangster film ever made, starring Patrick Dempsey, Christian Slater, and Richard Grieco. It was awful, and that's like the guys I want to talk about. Like, I want a movie about that. I want to see Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky. We got to see it on Boardwalk Empire, which was one of the best parts of Boardwalk Empire. But we didn't really get a good movie of the guys that created these Italian American mafia as we know it today. But anyway, so we get this film, and it felt cheap. It felt really cheap at times. And I think it's because we're dealing with De Niro as this old guy, and we have to revolve the whole movie about him. And on top of that, the writing is, for some reason, just seemed pretty awful. It wasn't De Niro playing a character or playing two characters. It was De Niro playing caricatures of the characters. And that's really sad. You can see a difference in his acting when he works alongside somebody like Scorsese in The Irishman, which I think should have been the last time he even touched gangster films at all. I don't know. Scorsese is the one that does it the best. And it's everything he does, not just his camera work, not just the cinematography, but the way Scorsese incorporates music in all of his movies is phenomenal. And I felt like, even though The Irishman, I thought the story's garbage, it's a terrible story, I thought having Pacino, De Niro, and Pesci in the same film together, and the way that whole film was laid out for The Irishman was like the end of gangster films. And I thought that maybe De Niro would just step away and not do them anymore, because that's the best way to say goodbye to that genre, is with Scorsese. And that's what that movie really felt like to me too. I think Scorsese is supposed to be working on another gangster film though, but that was like his goodbye to this genre, I thought. And that's how I interpreted that film in general. But then he comes along in here, and he's like the detriment of the entire film, and he's the main star, and the dialogue just seems corny. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. There are moments where he's talking to other characters. Everybody in here is old. The youngest guy I remember seeing is the guy who plays Vincent the Chin Gigante, who he's overacting as well as a stupid, dumb buffoon, which from what I hear from gangsters like Michael Francis and Sammy the Bull is that he actually wasn't stupid. He was actually very smart, and he played off a stupid person to avoid going to jail for several years, which they talk about at the end of the film. But I digress. All in all, this movie is like a mixed bag. Let's see some of the positives. Some of the acting is good by some of the characters. Catherine Narducci, beautiful, gorgeous. She will always be beautiful and gorgeous, no matter how old she is. She was Artie Bucco's wife on The Sopranos. She's fantastic. The guy funny enough, Jackie Aprile from The Sopranos is in this movie too. He plays Albert Anastasia, and I thought he was over the top. It's just, he seems ridiculous in this. A majority of everybody in this film is old, and I don't know. That like the youngest guy is the Chin that I can remember from the entire movie, and some other kid that's somebody's son briefly in a farm. So that's something that's just like, I don't know. This movie kind of really blows in a weird way. I'm getting like, now I'm thinking about the movie again after watching it, and like I'm kind of feeling more negative towards it, even though I shouldn't. But because it was an okay film, and I like the story it told. For people that don't know, it was good to see it on film, but it could have been done so much better instead of the way that it was actually presented to us. Deborah Messing, I don't like her character. I think she was god-awful. I hate when they try to do this with these films now. It's like all of a sudden, his wife, she knew everything, and she was a badass, and she was the brains too, and she was the one with him. It was like, oh God, just get this garbage out of here. Yeah, all in all, I'm sorry to say, I really am sorry to say this because I like this genre, but this is like, I guess I'll give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know. If you could watch it for free, watch it for free. Don't pay for this. Don't buy this. This isn't worth, no, don't go seeking this film out. Unless you like the history of it, which is cool to see it actually being told, some parts, but a lot of it's just boring and a waste of time. It's sad to say. This could have been so much better, and unfortunately it wasn't. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the Alto Nights. I will talk to you guys next time. Remember, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about this movie if you saw it. I thought it was underwhelming. I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.